Welcome back, my friends. I know that it's been a bit of a minute since I last made a video, and this one's going to be a little bit different than the previous ones I've done. It's going to be a bit of a podcast format. So if you like podcasts, stick around. If you don't, I will see you in the next video. I have a different camera setup going on today. I plugged the camera into the computer and it's filming all through OBS. So we'll see how the quality is. We'll see how the sync with the audio and video is. I was messing around with that for about half an hour, and then I realized I was messing with the wrong channel. So I believe I have it figured out. I want to shout out my friend Kenga Solutions on the YouTube for making a video on how to do this setup. I know you don't know me, but now you're my friend. I'm going to tag you in the video and everything because anybody that helps me out with my computer issues is my friend. So thank you. In the podcast, we're going to touch on various subjects. I asked the question on my Instagram and on a couple forums that I frequent to post some questions, and I will answer them on the video. So getting into it, let's touch on why I haven't been around for the last 2 months. January for me as a small business owner is usually almost always spoken for. It's kind of a month of planning, but also of accounting and getting paperwork in order. And it's not the most enjoyable month. However, when I do it properly, I can pretty much just execute on my plans for the rest of the year. And that is a beautiful thing. So January was a lot of that, getting ready for the new year, where my 11 months are going to be just balls to the wall, execution, going for it. And then I got COVID. I was supposed to head over to Europe February 2nd for I think it was a 20-day trip. And the day we were supposed to leave, I woke up feeling like utter shit. And yeah. So the first question I got on Instagram was, how was your COVID experience? And I'm going to preface this with a couple points. Number one, I'm not a doctor, and my experience may not be your experience because we're different people. We're just different. We have different genetics. We have different everything about us. I've never been the best listener of doctors. It served me well when I was younger and starting to work out and learning all about, nutrition and my body and all of that. And it also served me pretty well when I broke my back and recovered from paraplegia, not being able to walk. A lot of doctors told me a lot of things, and I chose not to listen to them, and I'm very glad that I didn't. And here I am today standing in front of you doing this podcast. That's not to say I dislike doctors or anything like that. I'm just not one. So, disclaimer of that nature, done. Point number two is that I don't like catch-all-isms, and I don't like everybody should do this. If you catch my drift. The issue is that in the previous point I made, people are completely different. Different genetics, different personalities, different exercise regimens that they adhere to, different nutrition, different backgrounds, all of this. And to say that everybody should do something is a disservice to the person that you're trying to have a conversation with and you're trying to help. We'll leave it at that, but there are universal principles for human health, like if I say that people should stop eating so much processed food and eat more, grown vegetables and meats and everything like that, that's probably a decent bit of advice. But it also discounts the person. So I'm not going to give advice on that level. And this is my own personal experience with COVID. This is not saying that this is how your experience will be. It's just my own. So, with all of that out of the way, how did it go? I was supposed to leave on February 2nd. February 1st is the day where I felt a little bit off. I didn't feel myself. I just felt kind of low energy, and there was something in my mind, and I was like, maybe you got it. I'd gone out to dinner 2 or 3 nights prior, and everybody at that dinner, besides myself and another guy, had COVID. So I pretty much resigned myself to the fact that I was getting it. I'm good at psychosomaticing. Is that a word? Psychosomatic, using psychosomatic tendencies to give myself feelings. I can make myself feel good or bad based on this mass that's between my ears. And I kind of thought maybe it was just that. Day 1, I took a rapid test. I also took a second rapid test in the evening because we had to fly over to where we were going in the UK. And both were negative. So I could have actually probably hopped on the plane. However, when I woke up in the morning on February 2nd, I was just floored. I was so cold. When you have a fever and you can't get warm, you feel like you're just frozen, and it doesn't matter how many layers you put on. It just doesn't matter. That's how I felt when I woke up in the morning. So I knew that I was sick. I took a rapid test that morning, positive. So we didn't get on the plane, and the whole hassle with getting flights changed and rearranged and everything, that's a different story for a different day. But yeah, we didn't get on the plane, and I stayed home and was sick for a good 10 days with COVID, I want to say. By the 10th day, I think I was fully recovered. But let's go through the whole process because some people want to hear about that. Day number 1 was really like a cold, fever, body aches, no congestion, no sore throat, no coughing, nothing really. Day number 2, I woke up in the morning and I was wearing a hoodie and sweats to bed that night. I was soaked directly through. Like, it was just drenched. It was disgusting. And I regret even talking about it. Wasn't fun. That day, much of the same. A lot of just feeling cold, fever about 100, I don't know what Fahrenheit, 38.2 for my Celsius people. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but an average fever. It wasn't like out of control or anything like that. Body aches, just didn't feel good again. Closer to the end of the day, I had a sore throat, and lozenges seemed to make it better. So that was day number 2. Day number 3 is where I started to get a cough, and the sore throat was a little bit worse. Fever was very manageable. And I will say, I only used over-the-counter drugs for this. I only used like Tylenol nighttime. I only used Halls and stuff like that. I think I took Benylin, I think is the cold medicine for evening. And I took melatonin to sleep at night. That's all I took. That's all the various drugs that I took, if you can even call them that. Day number 3, sore throat a little bit. Fever was manageable. And by day 4, there was no fever left. Like, I didn't have a fever. I didn't even have to take any cold medications throughout the day. I just did it because of I started to get some congestion. Day number 4 is where I lost my taste and smell. And that was the worst part about this whole thing, because you have no inclination to eat. You just feel like sitting there and being like, what is the point of living anymore? And it was not fun. It got to the point where I literally could not smell anything. I could not taste anything. Nada. And we'll talk about how it came back, because I seem to be about 95% back now. And this is 26 days after my initial sickness. So about a month later, I am about 95% better. Day number 5, I don't think I had a fever, just sore throat, coughing. The coughing got worse throughout and probably peaked at about day 8 or day 9. And for me, it was a productive cough. I actually was coughing up mucus, and like people say it's a dry cough. For me, I was actually coughing up some mucus. So day 5, 6 were just cough, no fever, no cold, no feeling cold, and a little bit of sore throat, and it felt like a head cold, some congestion. So when you blow your nose and your ears plug, that was me for about 4 or 5 days there. And I hate that feeling. It's the worst. It keeps me up at night. Ugh. That was about day 8, day 9, day 10 started getting much better. And day 9 and day 10, my smell started to come back. And I know how people have been describing it online. They've been describing it as like a burnt smell. For me, that's almost exactly what it was. It was like a burnt meat smell. And I couldn't smell the difference between chicken in the oven or steak in the oven or anything like that. I tried to smell like horseradish. I tried to smell some other stuff. The weird thing is I could smell like citrus. I could smell lemon juice. I could smell that. But the smell of that burnt meat just made me not feel good. Didn't feel good to the stomach or anything like that. And those couple of days were the worst for that. But after about 10 days, I think I was about 85, 90%. I've been back to the gym. I skipped the gym for about 2 weeks when I got sick, and my strength was not great. My endurance, I've had to build back up, doing cardio every morning, and I feel much better now. I would say my strength is back to about 95, 96%. I don't know what 4% more would be, but that was my experience with COVID. And again, it may not be your experience, but that was my personal experience. Have I had worse colds? Yes. Have I had worse flus? Yes. But I know for different people, it hits them differently. So I'm just giving my experience and how I managed it, how I felt. And that's it for that. Question number 2 on Instagram was, what is the best female vocal trance? I think this question was asked because when I posted the question on my computer, I had a mix for vocal trance. I love that music for working because for me, it's like a nootropic. It makes me just type faster and I love it. For me, it's the thing that makes me work better. If I had to pick an artist, I would say Christina Novelli for female vocal trance. She is just so deep, the vocals that I don't even know how she sings it. It's lovely. It makes your spirit feel uplifted. It's would recommend. I've been listening to some Becky Hill, some other stuff. I don't know if that's even vocal trance at this point, but yeah, that's who I suggest. Christina Novelli. Question number 3, when is L&H coming back? L&H is Long and Hard. That is the podcast that I started with my co-host Thomas. And good question. I think that we're going to be doing some episodes this year. We went on hiatus late January of 2021, I want to say. And the reason was because things were shut down, couldn't get interviews in person. And doing interviews via Zoom or Skype or anything like that, I'm not a huge fan. It's just kind of, the audio doesn't sync properly. So when somebody says something and you have a reaction, it's just not like, it doesn't feel authentic. And for us, that was the issue, is that we were doing these Zoom interviews and it just didn't feel right. Like the energy wasn't right about it. So I do believe we're going to be coming back. However, the real estate market is super busy in Edmonton right now. I know Thomas is busy. I'm busy. All the boys are busy at Revere. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I would expect some new episodes coming soon. I think the reason that I'm doing this podcast is because I miss speaking to the camera so much. I miss talking. I miss having conversations with people. And that's why I started this one, just kind of as a way to keep myself in practice talking. Because it's a skill and you lose it and it's not fun to lose. You gotta keep it up. So question number 4 is, Josh, what the fuck do you do all day? And fuck is capitalized. And I will tell you, my friend, I actually don't even know. For me, my main focus is I have a real estate brokerage in Edmonton. Few agents there. We do a lot of home sales. We save people a lot of money when you actually sell your home. And that's my main focus. I do all the administration stuff for it, systems, getting the realtors so that they're busy and everything like that. That's been my main focus. I'm moving into a little bit more of some technology, some prop tech, we'll call it, or fintech, and building that on the side so that it integrates with the brokerage. So I manage a small development team on top of that. I'm a self-taught programmer. I didn't go to school for it. I wouldn't say that I'm amazing at it. I'm not terrible at it, but I can speak the lingo. I can manage people, but those people that work with me are generally much better than me. So I do that too. A couple other small businesses that are on the side. I do some YouTube stuff. I do a lot of writing too. Writing for me is like this passion thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe in a different life I was a writer and I came back. I don't know. I just loved writing as a kid in, elementary, junior high, high school. Language arts was almost always one of my highest marks because it was my thing. I don't know. For me, sitting down and typing, it releases dopamine for me, and it's weird. Every single press of the key is like a dopamine hit, and you start writing a lot when it gives you that feedback. So I write a lot too. I probably write in the span of a month. I probably write a good 20, 30 articles for my blog, joshblaze.com. So if you want to go over there and read, go for it. A lot of the times those blog posts become videos. So that's what I'm going to be working on going forward, is making a lot of those blog posts digestible videos for people that prefer that format. I know some people don't like watching videos or listening to podcasts, so writing and reading is kind of the other format that I hit them with. But I know that some people also don't like reading, so video, podcast, boom. That's how I hit them in all directions, okay? What was question number 4? Question number 4 was, what do you think about the Joe Rogan controversy and the Freedom Convoy? And I know that this is coming out a little bit later than these events happened, so I'm going to gloss over them. Question number 1 was Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan, there was 2 main events that were controversial. Event number 1, as I hit my mic. Event number 1, I believe, was he's been putting out podcasts with various doctors and medical people and people that don't necessarily conform to the main narrative around situations that are going on in the world today. And so they tried to effectively cancel him. Neil Young, I believe, tried to take all his music off Spotify. I don't know if he's done that or not. And there was other various artists that followed because Joe Rogan is a Spotify exclusive. This gets into cancel culture, and my opinion on cancel culture is it is so stupid. You become almost like that mom at the birthday parties where the kids are all watching a movie, but your one kid, Timmy, we're going to call him Timmy. I'm sorry if anybody's watching this and name him Timmy. But Timmy's mom, because she has this idealistic view, doesn't want all the kids to watch the video. She said, Timmy can't watch this video. Nobody else is going to watch the movie. So you're 1997, you're watching GoldenEye as a 4-year-old at the birthday parties, and Timmy's mom comes around and says, no. You become like Timmy's mom. You effectively don't like something, so you ruin it for the rest of people. And that's what I feel kind of cancel culture has become. It's become this thing where it's like, I don't like this, you can't watch it, and I'm going to shut it down so that you can't watch it. The internet's a big place. There's a lot of YouTubers. If you don't want to be watching somebody like me or somebody like Joe Rogan, there's no shortage of people that you can go watch. Go do that. Because you can control what you take in. You can control your inputs. You can control what you watch, what you read, all of that. Why don't you just control that? Why don't you, instead of trying to shut somebody down, go over there and listen to that person instead of what this person is saying? That's been my take on cancel culture for so long, and I'll leave it at that. There was a second event that occurred, and it was a compilation of Joe Rogan saying a racial slur. Put it that way. In the compilation, I think it was like, a minute long or something. He's obviously taken out of context, but he is saying a certain word over and over again. And obviously the video makes it look like he is saying the word, just to be malicious or something like that. Clearly that's not what's happening. But the interesting thing is this video has existed for some time now. I don't know how long. I do remember it was sent to me a while back when I was talking about Joe Rogan with a friend, and he was like, you should see this video. The funny part is there's other various media personalities that have very similar compilations of them, but they are on a different political spectrum or on the other side, and that doesn't get talked about. I don't know how I feel about the whole thing. I do know that obviously the word was said out of context, and the compilation obviously makes it look bad. I think he's done very well to apologize and kind of walk back what's happened. That being said, have we all said something that we probably shouldn't have said? Or he's just done 1,700 podcasts or something like that. So inevitably something he's said is going to piss somebody off. It doesn't have to be a racial slur. It could be anything, right? And I think that that's the issue, is that he has such a platform that he's being scrutinized from. Well, he has a very precise microscope on him, watching his every move. Right. That's my take on it. I don't know. I like listening to him sometimes. I like some of the guests that he has on. I don't listen to him religiously. I find people that kind of resonate with me or have cool backstories or something like that. Or a lot of the time the podcasts are suggested to me and then I listen to them. I'm not a huge podcast guy. I like them for working out. I think they're more productive than listening to music when you're working out or driving, because it uses that time in a productive manner. It allows you to have a conversation without having a conversation. It allows you to input ideas and various things into your mind and kind of have, well, that's the best way of putting it, is like you're having a conversation without having a conversation. You're watching in on somebody else's conversation. And that's, for me, I think that the ideas that come out of that are really awesome. And I truly do believe that everybody should have some sort of medium, creative medium, that they can get out in public and have conversations with people. That's kind of why we started our previous podcast, Long and Hard, is because even if we didn't make a dime with it, it allowed us to have really cool conversations. It allowed us to make friends. And most of these people are busy. Like if I asked this comedian to go for coffee and have a conversation over, coffee for a couple hours, they'd probably say no because they're busy. But when it becomes a podcast medium and it becomes a way to promote yourself and show the world what you're talking about and what you're doing, a lot of these people just say, yeah, let's do it. And that's why I think the podcast is a very cool medium. And I think that anybody that has any inclination towards it should start one. That's my take on Joe Rogan. The second take was on the Freedom Convoy. I don't like talking about politics too much because it doesn't fly with various channels. I do believe in the right to protest, and I do believe that a peaceful protest is a right of the people, specifically in Canada. It does say that in their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This question was asked before the cops stepped in. So it was kind of like this event that was holding up Ottawa, and then the cops stepped in and everything. I think that there's going to be a couple points I make. Point number one is that various countries are already opening their doors nearly fully from what's been going on over the past couple of years here. And Canada does seem to be lagging behind. So I do see the mentality of the people that went to protest, because it is frustrating. And a lot of people are frustrated because businesses have been shut down. We're just not able to live our lives like we normally do. So I see where they're coming from. The government, I see where they're coming from, because it's obviously holding up a vast area in the capital city of Canada, and also it is irritating the people that live there. So yes, I see where that's coming from too. My take on protesting is a little bit different than other people's. I think that protesting is I'm going to piss some people off with this, but I think that protesting is not the best way of getting your point across. I think that as an individual, you can only affect so much policy in the grander scheme of things. You have to be able to focus on yourself and control what you can control. Because protesting, it could go either way, right? Like you could go there, and what happened is people went there for 3 weeks and really nothing at the federal level really changed. Provincial levels, they did affect some stuff. There are provinces that have removed mandates and have opened up substantially. So you could argue either way. Was it effective or was it not effective? There's a book that I've been reading, and I'm going to do a video on it. It's called How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown, I believe. And in that book, he talks about freedom from various things. But one of them is from, I believe it's in the government chapter. He talks about it and he says, don't join a protest because it's not, you as a person you don't really affect things. You can if you gain a collective or anything like that. But my take has always been focus on what you personally can control. Because as soon as you join a group, you become a group. You become labeled. You become potentially demonized. You become something. You become an entity that it may not necessarily be you or what you stand for. And in doing so, you kind of give up your individual autonomy and your individuality to become part of something bigger. I don't know what the answer is. That's just my take on it. I do recommend reading that book, and I think that I will do a video on it because for me, it's opened a lot of doors and ideas for me. So I will do a video on that in the future, and we'll touch on that going forward. And then the final question, of course, is, Josh, what are your politics? And I don't like talking about politics. One thing is I think that the funniest part about this whole thing is that politics was a dirty word. It was one of the 3 things you don't talk about at the dinner table, right? It's like religion, sex, and politics, and maybe money. I can't remember. Politics was always on that list, right? Because you're going to piss somebody off no matter what you say, and it becomes, you have a fight, you start throwing mashed potatoes at each other, and families torn apart by the mashed potato fight of 2008. My politics have shifted over the years, and I think a lot of people's do. When I was younger, I was a liberal. I was very much in that world, and I was very much, about freedom of choice and expression and all of that. And I think a lot of creative people trend toward that political side of the spectrum. And that's how I was as a younger man. And as I got a little bit older, I went conservative, and I was like, economic policy and all this. And we got to be more concerned about that sort of thing. And now I feel apathetic. I feel like I've taken a step back almost entirely. I feel like you couldn't paint me into a box. And I also feel that a lot of people you can't paint into boxes because a human being shouldn't be placed in a box. They should have ideas for themselves. They should be able to think for themselves. They should be able to say, this is right and this is right and this is wrong and this is wrong. The problem with politics is that by painting yourself into a box, you have to say, this box is correct in everything they do. This box is wrong in everything they do. And it becomes this tribalistic team event where you have to say, this is my team, nothing they do can be wrong. This is the other team, everything they do is wrong. And it makes this binary system that doesn't actually exist in most people's eyes. I believe that probably 90+% of people are not so staunchly conservative or staunchly liberal that they can't have conversations with the other side. And that's what I feel we need more of, is having conversations with the other side and not judging each other because this is my view and this is my view. I believe that you got to be able to think for yourself. You got to be able to see what's going on in the world and come to conclusions for yourself. You have to look for underlying whys. Hint, that's probably going to be a video. You have to look for the reason that people are doing things. And a lot of the time, politics puts this shroud or these blinders up that doesn't allow you to do that. I will say at one time, I thought I was a libertarian too. But the funniest thing about libertarians is that they don't know what they're fighting for. There's so many different factions within the libertarian world that nobody can come to an agreement as to what the ideology actually is. And that's kind of personifying politics in and of itself. If I'm a person and I think that this social policy is correct, hold my hand up here on the left side. I guess that would be right for you guys on the video. And I think that this economic policy is correct on the right, or on the left if you're watching this video, conservative. You have to be able to put them together. And that's why I believe that the two-party system, specifically in the States, and in Canada, we have like a multiple party system, but we also really have, I believe most parties in Canada are pretty much left of center. As I hit my mic, I believe that they're pretty much left of center. It makes it difficult to have conversations when you have to be on one side of the fence or the other, and everything on this side is incorrect and everything on this side is correct. So that's my overall take on the political. That's what my politics are. We'll put it that way. I don't really subscribe to a box. I feel like painting yourself into a box is a disservice to humanity. And I think that you should be able to get out of the box and look into the boxes and see what's going on and make your own conclusions from there. I won't get into democracy. I won't get into any of that. But that is generally how I feel that my politics are. I don't subscribe to one side or the other. And I think I have voted for the last time because of that viewpoint. So I know it's going to piss some people off. Josh, you should be conservative, or Josh, you should be liberal. I'm not going to pick a side in this because I believe it's kind of stupid. So that's the podcast for today. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys stuck through all the way, if you like this format, let me know. And in the comments, post your questions because I'm going to be using them in future podcasts. And that gives me ideas. That gives me stuff to talk about. And yeah, I love you guys. So thanks so much. Subscribe to the channel. If you liked it, help me out. Like this video, share it. And we're going to catch you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care.